You don't need to raise your voice. You don't need to flex your muscles. And you don't need to prove anything to anyone. Because when your mind is truly strong, the room feels it before you even open your mouth. That's the kind of presence the world cannot ignore. A strong mind doesn't chase attention. It commands respect, not through arrogance, but through undeniable power. While most people spend their lives building bodies, building brands, or building images for the world to see, the rare few build the one thing that makes all the difference: a mind so unshakable, so brutally clear. It terrifies mediocrity. Think about it. Why is it that some people walk into a room and instantly everyone pays attention, even when they say nothing? It's not because they're the loudest or the richest or the strongest physically. It's because their presence comes from the inside out. Their calm exposes other people's chaos. Their silence is louder than shouting. Their discipline makes excuses crumble. And that's the truth. Most never realize a strong mind isn't something you're born with. It's something you forge. It's built in fire, in discomfort, in discipline, in solitude, in every silent battle when no one is watching. This is the kind of mind that scares people, not because it's cruel, but because it's clear. Clear about what it wants, clear about what it will no longer tolerate, clear about the future it is building, no matter what stands in the way. And here's the brutal reality. The world doesn't respect weakness. It doesn't reward excuses. It doesn't clap for indecision. It bows to strength. It follows clarity. It moves aside for the relentless. So if you're tired of being overlooked, tired of feeling stuck, not tired of living at the mercy of other people's opinions, this is your moment, because in the next few minutes, you're going to discover how to build a mind so strong, so anchored, so powerful, that nothing can shake it. Forget the noise. Forget the distractions. Forget trying to fit in. This is about building the strongest weapon you will ever have, your mind. Now, let's begin the journey. There is a reason why the most powerful people in history, in business, in leadership, and in life rarely need to shout. Their strength is not in their volume, but in their presence. You've seen it before. Someone walks into a meeting, they sit down, and the atmosphere shifts. No words, no noisy, no performance, just presence. That's the silent power of a strong mind. A weak mind depends on the external world for validation. It needs applause, attention, and constant reassurance just to feel alive. But a strong mind doesn't need agreement. It doesn't beg to be seen. It doesn't crumble when challenged. It holds its ground. And that's exactly why it scares people. Why? Because most people are fragile. They've built their confidence on shaky foundations, on money that can vanish, on bodies that will age, on attention that can disappear overnight. And when they meet someone who has built their strength from within on discipline, clarity, and resilience, it exposes the weakness in them. Your calm highlights their chaos. Your silence reveals their insecurity. Your focus magnifies their distractions. That's why a strong mind doesn't have to prove anything. It simply is. Like a mountain, it doesn't announce its power, but you can feel it. Like the ocean, it doesn't ask for respect, but you can't deny it. Think about a soldier on the battlefield. The loudest one, the one screaming, panicking. And flailing is usually the weakest, the strongest one. He's the one who stays calm, scanning the horizon, making clear decisions under fire. That's mental power. And in the battlefield of life, the same principle applies. The one who stays composed, unshaken, and focused when everything around them is chaos, that's the one who wins. But here's the truth. You don't get this kind of strength by accident. It doesn't fall from the sky. It is built, forged in daily practice, in daily choices. You become that person by refusing to react to everything, by disciplining your attention, by mastering your emotions instead of letting them master you. Look around in your own life. Think about the people who always panic when things go wrong. The ones who gossip, complain, or blame others. They live in reaction mode. Now, think about the rare ones. The ones who stay quiet, who don't get rattled, who seem to move with certainty even in uncertainty. Aren't they the ones you respect the most? That's not coincidence. That's mental power at work. A strong mind doesn't mean you don't feel fear. It means you don't let fear dictate your response. It doesn't mean you never doubt. It means you never bow to doubt. It doesn't mean you don't hear the noise of the world. It means you don't let that noise drown out your inner voice. Let me give you a real-world example. Imagine two entrepreneurs. Both lose everything in a failed business. The first one collapses, blames the economy, blames bad luck, blames everyone but themselves. They spiral into self-pity and never recover. The second one, they take a week to breathe, to process, then they stand back up, they analyze what went wrong, they recalibrate, and they start building again. Same storm, two different minds. The difference is not circumstance, it's strength, and this is the silent power that scares everyone else. Because when you refuse to break, when you refuse to panic, when you refuse to be shaken, you shine a light on how easily others fold. Your resilience forces them to confront their fragility. And many people don't like that. It intimidates them. It unsettles them. But that's exactly what sets you apart. You're not here to be comfortable. You're not here to be liked by everyone. You're here to build a foundation so solid that no storm can move you. And the beautiful thing about this kind of strength is that it compounds every time you stay calm when others lose control. Your confidence deepens. Every time you keep your word to yourself, your foundation grows thicker. Every time you choose silence over reaction, you carve another layer of strength into your identity. Soon, it stops being something you do. It becomes who you are. You don't need to force it anymore. People feel it. They sense it in your eyes, in your posture, in your tone. They feel that you're unshakable, and it changes how they treat you. The world respects strength. It cannot move. So if you want to build this kind of silent power, start small. Stop explaining yourself to people who will never understand. Stop reacting to every comment, every criticism, every distraction. Build a mind that doesn't chase attention, but commands respect through its clarity and consistency, because here's the truth. Your words may be ignored, your achievements may be overlooked, but your presence, if built on true strength, can never be denied. A strong mind isn't about shouting louder. It's about standing taller without saying a word. And when you master that kind of presence, you no longer need to scare anyone. Your very existence does it for you. If there is one thing that separates the strong from the weak, the winners from the quitters. It's this how they handle discomfort. Most people spend their entire lives running from it. They label it as pain, as unfair, as punishment. They run toward distraction, toward comfort, toward anything that numbs the sting. But here's the brutal truth. Comfort doesn't build strength. Discomfort does. A weak mind says, "This is too hard. I can't take it." A strong mind says, "This is how I grow." Every challenge becomes training. Every setback becomes feedback. Every no becomes fuel. Discomfort isn't the enemy. It's the evidence you're stretching. The proof that you're stepping outside the small circle of your old self and reaching toward the life you actually want. Think about this. Muscles don't grow without resistance. They tear. They burn. They ache before they get stronger. Your mind is no different. It has to be pushed, stretched, tested, broken down, and rebuilt in order to become unshakable. The problem is, most people confuse discomfort with danger. They treat every struggle like a threat instead of recognizing it as training. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine two people start running in the morning. One gets tired after 5 minutes and stops, telling themselves, "I'm not built for this." The other feels the same burn in their lungs, the same pain in their legs. But instead of stopping, they whisper, "This is the part that makes me stronger." Guess which one builds endurance? Guess which one develops the mindset to push through? Every barrier life throws at them, the pain is the same. The difference is the interpretation. That's the secret of mental toughness, reframing discomfort as a signal of growth, not a sign to retreat. When you feel resistance, you're not being punished, you're being promoted. Life is testing you to see if you're ready for the next level. History proves this again and again. Thomas Edison didn't invent the light bulb in one try. He failed thousands of times. Each failure was discomfort. Each setback was a slap in the face, but he never saw it as punishment. He saw it as data. Every mistake told him one more way that didn't work. That mindset, embracing discomfort as feedback, was the key to one of the greatest inventions in history. Or think of Nelson Mandela, locked in prison for 27 years. The average mind would have collapsed under the weight of isolation, injustice, and despair. But Mandela used that discomfort as his teacher. He trained his patience, his perspective, his discipline, and when he finally walked free, he wasn't broken. He was unshakable. That's the power of embracing discomfort. It doesn't just prepare you for freedom. It makes you worthy of it. And let's bring this closer to home. Look at your own life. Every time you avoided a difficult conversation, every time you procrastinated because something felt uncomfortable, every time you chose the easy option over the hard one, you weakened your mind. You told your subconscious that pain is dangerous. That difficulty is unbearable. And guess what? Your mind believed you. That's why so many people stay stuck. They've trained their brain to retreat the second it feels uncomfortable. But the opposite is also true. Every time you lean into discomfort, every time you choose the hard path instead of the easy one, you send a new command to your subconscious. I can handle this. I am built for more. And your mind listens. It adapts. It strengthens. This is why the gym is such a perfect metaphor for life. No one grows by lifting light weights forever. Growth comes from adding resistance, from pushing beyond what feels comfortable. The discomfort in your muscles isn't weakness, it's transformation. And the same applies to your mind. The people you admire, the athletes, the leaders, the entrepreneurs, the visionaries, they are not extraordinary because life was easy. They are extraordinary because they embraced what others avoided. They made discomfort their mentor. So here's the challenge. Stop asking, how can I avoid pain? And start asking, how can I use this pain? Instead of numbing it, study it. Instead of retreating from it, lean in. Because discomfort is data. It shows you where your limits are. And the only way to expand those limits is to face them over and over until they break. Ask yourself, what are you avoiding right now? Because it feels uncomfortable. Is it starting the business? Is it ending a toxic relationship? Is it putting your phone away and focusing deeply on the work that matters? Whatever it is, that's your training ground. That's the exact discomfort that will shape you into who you're meant to be if you stop running. The truth is, greatness is not built in comfort zones. No empire, no legacy. No revolution was ever born out of ease. They were forged in fire, in struggle, in rejection, in long nights when quitting looked easier than continuing. That's what makes the difference. And here's the reward. When you embrace discomfort long enough, it loses its power over you. You stop fearing it. You start seeking it. Not because you're a masochist, but because you've discovered what most people never will. That discomfort is not the end. It's the beginning. It's the doorway to power. So the next time life feels heavy, the next time you want to run, remind yourself, this is the weight that builds me. This is the resistance that shapes me. This is not the enemy. This is the evidence I'm evolving, because at the end of the day, comfort is where mediocrity lives. Discomfort is where greatness is born. You cannot build a strong mind on weak fuel, just like you cannot build a strong body on junk food. You cannot expect clarity, focus, and discipline if your mind is constantly flooded with gossip, negativity, fear, and noise. What goes in will always come out. Your thoughts are shaped by your inputs, and your actions are shaped by your thoughts. That's why the strongest minds are guarded minds. Think of your mind as a fortress. A fortress doesn't leave its gates wide open for anything to wander in. It screens. It filters. It protects what enters. Because one small crack, one enemy slipping through the gate, can compromise the entire kingdom. The same is true for your mental world. Every song you listen to, every headline you scroll past, every conversation you allow to linger, it's either sharpening you or dulling you. Most people don't get this. They consume anything and everything without a second thought. They spend hours scrolling through meaningless posts, comparing themselves to strangers, drowning in opinions from people who haven't achieved anything. Then they wonder why their minds feel anxious, distracted, and drained. But here's the truth. Your life will always move in the direction of your dominant thoughts. And your dominant thoughts are shaped by what you consume daily. Ask yourself honestly, what are you feeding your mind? Is it wisdom or is it noise? Are you listening to voices that fuel your faith or voices that amplify your fear? Because if you constantly take in drama, chaos, and negativity, you will unconsciously replicate it in your own life. Garbage in, garbage out. But if you feed your mind with strength, with clarity, with purpose, then that is exactly what you will produce. Let's get practical. Imagine you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is check your phone. Within 5 minutes, you've seen headlines about crisis, friends complaining, influencers bragging, and a dozen emails pulling you in different directions. Before your feet even touch the ground, your mind has already been hijacked. Now compare that to someone who starts the day with silence, with gratitude, with a book, with a clear vision for what matters. Same 24 hours. But two entirely different lives. One is reactive. The other is intentional. This is why guarding your input is not optional, it's essential. If you want mental strength, you must become ruthless about what you allow in. That doesn't mean cutting yourself off from the world, but it does mean curating it. You don't have to listen to everyone. You don't have to watch everything. You don't have to let every voice echo inside your head. A strong mind chooses carefully. Like a gardener planting seeds, here's a simple truth. Your attention is your most valuable currency. Everyone wants it. Advertisers, politicians, media, even people in your own circle. But if you give it away freely, you'll always be broke in clarity. Protect your attention like your life depends on it, because it does. Once your clarity is gone, your power is gone. And without clarity, you cannot build, you cannot lead, and you cannot rise. Think about high performers, elite athletes, successful entrepreneurs, visionary leaders. They're not scrolling endlessly. They're not gossiping about other people's lives. They're intentional about their environment, about their information, about the people they let influence them. They know that their mind is a limited resource, and they treat it like sacred ground. Here's an example you already know. Steve Jobs was ruthless about focus. He didn't let his environment or his team drown in distractions. He filtered everything. He once said, "Innovation is saying no to 1,000 things." That same principle applies to your mind. Strength doesn't come from saying yes to everything. It comes from the courage to say no. So here's your challenge. Audit your input. Take an honest look at what you're consuming every day. Are the podcasts, the books, the conversations building you or breaking you? Are the people you spend time with sharpening your edge or dulling it? If the answer is not clear, then it's time to clean house. Guarding your input doesn't just protect your peace, it builds your presence. Because when your mind is uncluttered, when your thoughts are aligned, when your focus is sharp, people feel it. They can't manipulate you with fear. They can't pull you into drama. They can't control you with noise. You become anchored, grounded, unshakable. And here's the best part. When you start filtering your input, your output changes. Your words become sharper. Your decisions become clearer. Your actions become more decisive. People will notice it, even if they don't understand it. They'll sense that your energy feels different, that your presence carries weight. That's the silent authority of a strong mind. But remember, this is not a one-time decision. Guarding your input is a daily discipline. Every day, distractions knock at your gate. Every day, negativity tries to sneak in. Every day, fear tries to take root. Your job is to protect the fortress, to decide with ruthless clarity what gets access and what gets rejected. So, ask yourself right now, who is speaking into your life? What are you feeding your mind with? Is it junk food or nourishment? Because the answer to that question will determine the strength of your mind tomorrow. At the end of the day, a strong mind isn't just about what you do, it's about what you refuse to allow. It's about filtering, protecting, and choosing. And when you master this, When you become the gatekeeper of your own thoughts, nothing can hijack your clarity again. That is the fortress of the strong mind. And that is why guarding your input is not just wisdom, it's survival. If your mind is the fortress, then focus is the sword. It's the sharpest weapon you have. And in today's world, it's also the rarest. We live in the age of distraction. Notifications buzz every second. Message, demande, repli. Ads scream for attention. News headlines compete for outrage. And somewhere in the middle of that noise, your dreams are waiting to be built. Here's the truth. Distraction doesn't destroy you with force. It erodes you with fragments. One scroll at a time. One notification at a time. One meaningless conversation at a time. And before you realize it, your life is no longer yours. It's been hijacked by every small demand that didn't matter. But a strong mind understands this focus is life force. Where your focus goes, your energy flows, and where your energy flows, your future grows. If your focus is scattered, so is your destiny. But if your focus is locked in, nothing can stop you. Look at any champion in any field, sports, business, art, leadership, and you'll find one common denominator: ruthless focus. Michael Jordan didn't become the greatest basketball player by casually practicing when he felt like it. He was obsessive about focus, eliminating everything that didn't serve his mission. Steve Jobs didn't build Apple by dabbling in 10,000 ideas. He said no to almost everything so he could focus on a few things that truly mattered. Focus is not natural. It is trained. And the stronger you train it, the more powerful your life becomes. Most people live like a candle burning in all directions, flickering at the slightest breeze. But a person with ruthless focus burns like a laser, cutting through distractions, piercing through resistance, unstoppable once locked in. Here's the question: how do you train that kind of focus? First, you must reclaim your time. Set boundaries the world cannot cross. Block hours where you are unreachable. Turn off the notifications that chip away at your clarity. Silence the noise so you can finally hear yourself think. Second, you must build stamina. Focus is like a muscle. It grows with practice. Start small. Commit to 30 minutes of deep, uninterrupted work. Then stretch it to an hour. Then 2. Over time, your capacity to concentrate will expand. Most people quit the moment they feel restless. But that restlessness is the training. That discomfort is your mind trying to escape discipline. Stay. Push through. That's how you rewire your brain for deep work. Third, attach your focus to a mission. You cannot stay locked in if you don't know what you're locking in for. Clarity fuels focus. When you know exactly what matters, it becomes easier to ignore what doesn't. A strong mind doesn't ask, "What should I do today?" A strong mind declares, "This is what I will build today, no matter what." Let me give you an example. Picture 2 students preparing for an exam. The first one studies while checking their phone, answering texts, watching videos in between. After 3 hours, they've done 45 minutes of real work. The second one locks their phone away, sets a timer, and dives into focused study. After 2 hours, they've done more quality work than most people do in a week. Same amount of time. Completely different outcomes. Why focus? And here's something most people miss. Focus isn't about doing more, it's about doing less, better, The world worships multitasking. But multitasking is just divided mediocrity. You weren't designed to split your attention into 1,000 directions. You were designed to aim it like a spear. Think about it. A river that flows everywhere creates puddles, but a river that flows in one direction cuts valleys, moves mountains. Carves canyons. That's the difference between scattered energy and focused energy. And here's the deeper truth. When you train ruthless focus, you don't just scare mediocrity, you make it impossible for mediocrity to survive around you. People can't manipulate you with urgency. They can't drag you into meaningless drama. They can't hijack your energy with their chaos. Because you're anchored. You've built the internal stamina to stay locked in long after the world would have quit. This world doesn't need more people with ideas. It needs people with the focus to execute those ideas. Everyone dreams. Everyone talks. Few sit down and concentrate long enough to build, and that's why focused people rise while the rest remain stuck. Ask yourself, how much of your life have you lost to distraction? How many hours have you given to scrolling, comparing, reacting? What could you have built by now if you had given that energy to your vision instead? The good news is you can reclaim it starting today. Begin with one simple rule. When it's time to work, work. No excuses, no scrolling, no half effort. Train your focus like your life. Depends on it? Because it does. Every time you sit down and go deep, every time you push past the urge to escape, you're sharpening your sword, and here's the reward. Once focus becomes your default, doubt, drama, and distraction lose their grip on you. You stop chasing clarity. It becomes who you are. People feel it when they're around you. They respect it, even if they can't explain it. That calm, anchored energy terrifies those who've never disciplined their minds. Because while they are scattered, you are locked in. While they are distracted, you are building. While they are wasting time, you are creating a future. And that, more than anything, is the power of ruthless focus. If focus is the sword, then discipline is the hand that holds it steady. Without discipline, focus will wobble, clarity will fade, and your dreams will collapse before they even stand. Most people fail not because they lack talent, not because they lack opportunities, but because they lack discipline. They start strong. They burn bright for a moment. But when motivation fades, they disappear. Here's the hard truth. Motivation is temporary. Discipline is eternal. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the firewood that keeps the flame alive when the spark dies out. Motivation is how you feel. Discipline is who you are. A weak mind negotiates with itself. It says, I'll do it later. I'll start tomorrow. I'll wait until I feel like it. But a strong mind executes. It moves because it said it would, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's painful, even when nobody is clapping. Discipline isn't punishment, it's self-respect. Every time you keep your word to yourself, you prove that you can be trusted. And that trust becomes confidence. You no longer have to convince yourself you're strong. You know you're strong because your actions are the evidence. Think about the people you admire. The athletes who train at 5 a.m. while the world sleeps. The writers who sit at the desk every day, whether inspiration comes or not. The entrepreneurs who keep building when no one believes. They aren't special because they always feel motivated. They are special because they made discipline sacred. Let me give you a real example. Kobe Bryant, one of the greatest basketball players of all time. He wasn't just known for his talent, he was known for his discipline. While other players were still asleep, Kobe was already in the gym, practicing his shots, day after day, year after year. He once said, "I don't count my sit-ups. I only start counting when it starts hurting because they're the only ones that count." That's discipline. That's the difference between good and legendary. And here's the secret discipline compounds. One day of discipline is just a choice. A week of discipline is a habit. A year of discipline is an identity. When you do what you said you'd do long enough, you stop being someone who tries to be disciplined. You become discipline itself. It's no longer something you do. It's who you are. But make no mistake, the path to discipline isn't glamorous. It's not entertaining. It's repetitive. It's boring. It's doing the same thing again and again. Long after the excitement is worn off, that's why most people quit. They confuse boredom with failure. But here's the truth. Boredom is not your enemy. Distraction is. Greatness is built in the monotony. Think of a blacksmith forging a sword. Strike after strike. Hammer after hammer. The blade doesn't look like much in the beginning. But with repetition, with pressure, with fire, it transforms. That's what discipline does to your life. The repetition, the routine, the daily choices, they forge you into someone unbreakable. Now, some people will tell you, don't be so hard on yourself. Take it easy. Live a little. But understand this, those same people are the ones who gave up on their own potential. They'll tell you to relax because your discipline makes them uncomfortable. It exposes their lack of it. Don't listen. Protect your standard. Protect your fire. Discipline doesn't mean you never rest. It means your rest is earned. It means your days are structured with purpose. It means your nights are spent knowing you gave everything you had. That's the kind of rest that renews you, not the kind that numbs you. And here's the real beauty of discipline. Once you master it, you no longer need to chase confidence. You embody it. Confidence isn't standing in the mirror repeating affirmations. It's looking at your track record and knowing you can trust yourself. That's real confidence. That's unshakable. Ask yourself, how many times have you broken promises to yourself? How many times have you said, tomorrow I'll start? But tomorrow never came. Every broken promise chips away at your self-belief. But every time you follow through, you stack bricks of trust, building a foundation so solid that nothing can shake it. So here's the challenge. Make discipline sacred. Treat it as non-negotiable. If you say you'll wake up at 6, wake up. If you say you'll work out, show up. If you say you'll finish the project, finish it. Even when no one is watching. Even when no one cares. Because you care. Because your future cares. Discipline is the contract between your present self and your future self. Every disciplined act is a message: I love my future enough to suffer a little now. Every disciplined choice is a vote: I am worthy of the life I desire. And when discipline becomes who you are, you stop waiting for applause. You stop waiting for the perfect moment. You stop needing anyone to believe in you. Because your consistency speaks louder than your voice ever could. That's the sacred power of discipline. It's not about punishment. It's about identity. And once you become the kind of person who keeps promises to themselves, you become unstoppable. If there's one thing that separates those who dream from those who build, it's discipline. Talent will open the door. Luck might give you an opportunity, but only discipline will keep you standing when motivation runs out. And make no mistake, it always runs out. Most people wait until they feel like it. They wait for inspiration, for energy, for the perfect moment. But a strong mind doesn't wait. A strong mind executes. It doesn't ask, do I want to? It says, I will, because I said I would. Here's the truth. Motivation is a spark, but sparks defast. Discipline is the firewood that keeps the flame alive long after the spark is gone. Discipline is not about punishment. It's not about being harsh on yourself. It's about respect, self-respect. Every time you keep your word to yourself, you cast a vote for the person you are becoming, and those votes stack up. They create an identity. Think of it this way. When you tell yourself, I'll wake up early, and then you hit snooze 10 times, you're not just losing sleep. You're teaching your subconscious that your word means nothing. But when you rise, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it hurts, you teach yourself, I can be trusted. And that self-trust is the root of confidence. Let's take a real example. Kobe Bryant wasn't just a basketball legend because of natural talent. He was legendary because of discipline. While others slept, he was in the gym before dawn, practicing shot after shot. He built a career not on motivation, but on the sacred ritual of discipline. He didn't need applause. His work ethic spoke for him. That's what discipline does. It makes noise in silence. It creates strength behind the scenes. Most people confuse discipline with restriction, when in fact, discipline is liberation. Because once you master it, you're no longer a slave to moods, distractions, or impulses. You don't live by feelings, you live by principles. And here's the secret discipline compounds. One disciplined act might feel small, but over time, they stack into habits, and habits stack into identity. That's why people who show up day after day, even without glamour, without applause, eventually separate from the crowd. They aren't just doing discipline anymore. They are discipline. But let's be honest, discipline isn't glamorous. It's not exciting. It's repetitive. It's showing up when you're tired. It's writing when the page feels blank. It's training when your muscles ache. It's building when nobody's watching. That's why most people quit. They mistake boredom for failure. But the truth is, greatness is born in repetition. Monotony is not the enemy. Distraction is. Picture a blacksmith forging a sword, strike after strike. It seems like nothing is changing, but slowly, with every hammer, the blade is shaped, hardened, and refined. That's your life. Discipline is the hammer. Each act of consistency sharpens who you are. So how do you make discipline sacred? You stop treating it like an option. You stop negotiating with yourself. If you say you're going to do something, you do it, no excuses, no delay. You don't need to feel inspired. You don't need someone clapping for you. You move because your word is law. And here's the gift. Discipline gives confidence without noise. You don't have to hype yourself up. You don't have to convince the world of your strength. Your actions prove it day after day. Your consistency speaks louder than your words ever could. Ask yourself, how many times have you broken promises to yourself? How many times have you delayed, postponed, or quit halfway? Every broken promise weakens your foundation. But every act of discipline lays another brick, another layer of strength over time, that foundation becomes unshakable. The challenge is simple, but hard. Treat discipline as sacred. Make it non-negotiable. If you said you'd wake up at 6, wake up. If you said you'd go to the gym, go. If you said you'd finish the project, finish it. Not for the applause, not for the recognition, but because your future self is depending on your present discipline, because discipline is love. Love for the person you're becoming. Love for the future you deserve. And every time you choose discipline over distraction, you send a message. I am worthy of the life I desire. And here's the reward. Once discipline becomes identity, you stop chasing confidence, you embody it, you stop needing motivation. You move because you've trained yourself to move. That's when you become unstoppable, not because life is easy, but because your consistency makes you unshakable. That is the sacred power of discipline. And once you've built it, no storm can take it from you. If discipline is the foundation, then emotional mastery is the crown. You cannot build a strong mind if your emotions control your decisions. And yet, most people live like puppets, pulled by anger, driven by fear, hijacked by disappointment. One bad comment ruins their day. One rejection destroys their confidence. One setback convinces them they're finished. That's not strength, that's slavery. A weak mind reacts. A strong mind responds. And that difference changes everything. Think about a hurricane. On the outside, winds rage at 150 miles per hour. Shouts, destruction, was. But at the center, at the eye, there is stillness, calm, silence. That's what emotional mastery looks like. It doesn't mean you never feel fear, anger, or pain. It means you've trained yourself to remain calm at the center, no matter how wild the storm becomes. Here's the truth. Emotions are not the enemy. They're signals. Fear warns you of danger. Anger tells you something feels unjust. Sadness shows you what you value. The problem is not emotions themselves. It's when you let them drive the car instead of riding in the passenger seat. A strong mind doesn't suppress emotions. It owns them. It listens, learns, and then chooses the response deliberately. Let's make this real. Imagine you're in business and you lose a big client. The weak mind panics, I'm ruined. It's over. I can't handle this. They react out of fear, make desperate moves, maybe even quit. But the strong mind breathes, steps back, and asks, what's the lesson? What's my next move? Same storm, different outcome. The strong mind uses emotion as information, not as chains. Or think of sports. A boxer who loses his temper in the ring is finished. He starts swinging wildly, wasting energy, leaving himself open. The composed fighter, the one who keeps his head, even while blood is in his eyes, he's the one who wins. Why? Because he responds, not reacts. And let's be honest, you've seen this in your own life. How many times have you said something in anger that you regretted later? How many times have you let fear stop you from taking action? How many times did disappointment make you quit too soon? That's what happens when emotions master you. They steal your clarity, your discipline, your progress. But here's the good news. Emotional strength is a muscle. And like any muscle, it can be trained. You start with awareness. Pause before you react. Observe your thoughts. Notice your emotions without judgment. Instead of screaming at the waves, learn how to sail through them. Practical steps matter here. When anger rises, breathe. When fear whispers, act anyway. When sadness weighs heavy, move forward with gentleness. But keep moving. The more you practice this, the more you rewire your brain to remain calm in chaos. And over time, you stop being controlled by emotions and start using them as fuel. This is why the strongest people you know often seem unbothered. It's not that they don't feel, it's that they've trained themselves to stay anchored. They've become the eye of the storm. And that calm terrifies people because it reveals a strength most don't have. Here's a powerful example. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, led during wars, plagues, and betrayal. He had every reason to collapse under pressure. Yet his writings and meditations are filled with calm reflections, perspective, and clarity. He didn't let fear or anger dictate his rule. He mastered his emotions, and that's why he was remembered as a philosopher king. Now bring it back to you. Ask yourself, what emotions control me most? Is it fear of failure, anger when things don't go my way, anxiety about the future? What would my life look like if I mastered those emotions instead of letting them master me? The truth is this: your emotions will always show up, but you don't have to give them the driver's seat. Master them, and you'll unlock a level of peace that cannot be shaken. Imagine walking into chaos and remaining calm. Imagine facing rejection without losing your confidence. Imagine being pressured from every direction but never losing your clarity. That's power. And here's the final key. When you master your emotions, you no longer depend on the world to be calm in order for you to be calm. You carry peace inside you, and that peace is magnetic. People will notice. They'll wonder how you stay grounded when everything else is falling apart. They'll respect it, even fear it, because it reveals a kind of strength they haven't built. So the next time the storm comes, and it will, don't panic. Don't scream at the waves. Don't let anger, fear, or doubt dictate your next step. Instead, breathe, observe, choose, respond. Because the moment you learn to remain calm in chaos, you've already won. That is emotional mastery. That is what it means to be the eye of the storm. Most people fear silence. They fear being alone with their own thoughts. That's why the world is addicted to noise music, always playing. Screens always glowing. Conversations always filling the air. The average person can't sit in a quiet room for 10 minutes without reaching for their phone. But here's the truth. Solitude is not a weakness. It's a weapon. And only those who learn to embrace it will ever build a truly unshakable mind. A weak mind craves distraction. It needs noise to drown out the truth it doesn't want to face. But a strong mind, it seeks solitude. Not because it's easy, but because it's necessary. Solitude is where clarity lives. Solitude is where you meet yourself without the masks, without the filters, without the opinions of the world pressing on you. Think about it. Every great breakthrough in history was born in solitude. Writers, inventors, philosophers, leaders. They didn't create their best work in the middle of a crowd. They retreated into silence, into stillness, into the depths of their own minds. That's where genius is forged. But solitude isn't just about creativity, it's about strength. Because when you can stand alone, you become immune to loneliness. When you can sit in silence, you become untouchable by chaos. When you are comfortable with yourself, you stop depending on others for validation. And that independence, that ability to stand firm without needing the world to cheer for you, is terrifying to those who can't do it. Here's the reality. Most people avoid solitude because they're afraid of what they'll hear. In silence, the excuses become loud. The truth becomes unavoidable. You realize where you've been wasting time, where you've been living small, where you've been lying to yourself. That confrontation is uncomfortable, but it's also the path to growth. Because once you face the truth, you can change it. Let's make this practical. Imagine two people with the same goal. One constantly surrounds themselves with noise, always seeking advice, always scrolling, always talking. The other spends time alone each day, reflecting, journaling, asking themselves tough questions. Who do you think will have more clarity in 6 months? Who will know themselves better? Who will move with conviction instead of confusion? The answer is obvious. The strongest people you'll ever meet are often the ones who can disappear for a season. They step back from the crowd. They retreat into stillness. And when they return, they come back sharper, clearer, and stronger, while others spent their time chasing attention. They were building depth, and that depth is what shifts cultures, builds legacy, and commands respect. But let's be clear, solitude is not isolation. Isolation drains you because it comes from fear. Solitude builds you because it comes from strength. One hides from the world. The other chooses to step away from it to grow. The difference is intention. Here's an example. Monks in ancient traditions often spent long hours or even days in silence. Why? Not because they hated people, but because they understood something modern society has forgotten. Stillness sharpens vision. In silence, they found alignment. In solitude, they discovered power. And this principle applies to you right now. If you want to build a strong mind, you must create intentional solitude, not endless hours, but moments in your day when you put down the phone, close the door, and listen, journal, meditate, pray, reflect. Ask yourself, am I aligned with who I want to become? What's distracting me from my purpose? What do I need to release? Because here's the gift. Once you learn to enjoy solitude, you no longer chase the crowd. You no longer fear being left out. You no longer measure your worth by likes, comments, or attention. You find your validation within, and that terrifies the world because it shows them a freedom they haven't earned. Picture this. A man or woman who walks into a room and doesn't need to be the loudest, doesn't need to post every detail of their life, doesn't need external validation to feel alive. Their calm, their confidence, their quiet strength, it makes people stop and pay attention. That's the fruit of solitude. So here's the challenge. Schedule silence. Protect stillness. Make solitude a daily ritual, not an accident. Because in that silence, you'll meet the strongest version of yourself, the version that isn't shaped by noise, but by purpose. And when you've built that kind of strength, the world can no longer manipulate you. They can't distract you with noise. They can't trap you with fear of being alone. They can't control you with validation. Because you've found the gift of solitude. That's the paradox. Being alone makes you stronger with others. Solitude doesn't make you distant, it makes you powerful. It gives you the clarity to lead, the peace to stand firm, and the strength to walk alone if you must. This is why the strongest minds seek solitude, because they know that when the noise fades, truth speaks, and when truth speaks, power is born. Most people think they fail because they lack motivation. But the truth is, they fail because they tolerate too much. They tolerate excuses. They tolerate mediocrity. They tolerate habits that don't align with who they say they want to be. And here's the brutal reality. You don't get what you want in life. You get what you demand from yourself. Standards are everything. Your standards define the gap between where you are and where you could be. You can want success all day long, but if your standards allow laziness, distractions, and inconsistency, your want will never materialize. The difference between average and extraordinary isn't potential, it's standards. Think about it. The average person says, "I'll go to the gym when I feel like it." The extraordinary person says, "I go to the gym no matter how I feel." Same goal, different standards. One lives at the mercy of emotions. The other lives by commitment. Here's the truth. Your standards are either protecting your future or destroying it. If you tolerate being around negative people, you will become negative. If you tolerate procrastination, you'll always fall behind. If you tolerate half effort, you'll never unlock your full power. But when you raise your standards, everything shifts. Your habits rise, your circle changes, your identity evolves. Look at the greatest performers in any field. Serena Williams didn't become a tennis legend because she wanted to win. Millions of people wanted the same thing. She became a legend because her standards for training, preparation, and performance were higher than everyone else's. Wanting success isn't rare. Holding yourself to a higher standard, that's rare. And here's the key. Raising standards is not about perfection. It's about refusing to accept what no longer serves you. It's looking at your current habits and declaring, "This is no longer acceptable," because every time you accept less than your best, you reinforce mediocrity, but every time you demand more from yourself, you step closer to mastery. Let's make this real. Imagine two employees at the same company. One does just enough to get by, clocking in and out, never going beyond the bare minimum. The other treats every task like an opportunity to sharpen their skills, to raise their value, to set themselves apart. Who do you think will get promoted, earn more, and eventually lead? Not the one who simply wanted success, but the one whose standards demanded it. The same applies to your personal life. If your standard in relationships is low, you'll accept anyone who gives you attention, even if they drain you. But if your standard is high, you won't settle for someone who doesn't respect your vision or support your growth. Your standard dictates your destiny. Here's the challenge. Most people don't even realize their standards are low because they've been living by them for so long. They've normalized mediocrity. They say things like, "At least I tried," or "It's good enough." But good enough is the enemy of greatness. And if you want to rise above average, you must raise the bar not once, but relentlessly. Practical step, audit your standards. Ask yourself, what do I tolerate that I know is holding me back? Where in my life have I settled for good enough? What would happen if I demanded more from myself every single day when you raise your standards? Life gets uncomfortable because you're stepping into a higher version of yourself. You'll feel resistance. People around you may not understand. Some will even criticize you, saying you're too intense or too demanding. But understand this, their discomfort is not your problem. Their low standards are not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to honor the vision inside you by raising your standards to match it. And here's the best part. Once you raise your standards, you attract people, opportunities, and results that match them. Life doesn't give you what you dream about, it gives you what you demand and what you refuse to settle for. Remember, mediocrity is not inherited, it's accepted. Greatness is not given, it's demanded. And the moment you decide, this is my new standard, you change the game. So stop asking for success while living with low standards. Stop wanting more while tolerating less. The world will not rise to meet your dreams. It will only rise to meet your standards. Raise them relentlessly and watch your life transform. Every strong mind has scars. You cannot become unshakable without first being shaken. You cannot rise without first being pressed down. Pain is the universal teacher, the storm that comes for us all. But here's the dividing line. Weak minds let pain destroy them. Strong minds let pain define them. They transform wounds into weapons, suffering into strength, and heartbreak into fuel. Here's the truth. You don't choose whether you experience pain. How life will hand it to you in many forms. Loss, betrayal, rejection, en failure. But you do choose what that pain becomes. For most people, pain becomes an excuse. They say, I can't succeed because of what happened to me. But for the rare few, pain becomes a reason. They say, because of what I've been through, I will never stop. Think about the most inspiring people in history. Nelson Mandela spent 27 years behind bars, but he walked out not as a broken man, but as a leader who would heal a nation. Malala Yousafzai was shot for daring to go to school. Yet she transformed her suffering into a global movement for education. Oprah Winfrey endured abuse and poverty. Yet she turned her pain into a platform that inspired millions. What separates them from the rest? Not the absence of pain, but the decision to use it. Let's bring it closer to home. Maybe your pain didn't make headlines. Maybe it was a broken relationship, a financial collapse, a betrayal by someone you trusted, or a dream that never came true. You have two choices: bury it or build with it. Bury it, and it rots inside you. Build with it, and it becomes the foundation of your strength. Here's why pain reveals your limits. It exposes the cracks in your character, the weakness in your mindset, the illusions you've been clinging to. But once it's exposed, you have the chance to rebuild stronger. Pain is not just punishment, it's preparation. It shows you where you need to grow. Think of a broken bone. When it heals, it often heals stronger than before. The same is true with your soul. The breaks, the cracks, the scars, they can become the strongest parts of you if you let them. But most people don't. Most people run. They numb themselves with distractions, with addictions, with noise. They cover their wounds instead of confronting them. And because they never process their pain, they never progress beyond it. Here's the secret. The strong already know you can't escape pain, but you can elevate it. You can give it meaning. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and author of Man's Search for Meaning, said it best. Suffering ceases to be suffering the moment it finds meaning. That's the shift when you stop asking, why me? And start asking, what for? What if the betrayal wasn't just heartbreak, but preparation to help you recognize true loyalty? What if the failure wasn't punishment, but training for the bigger mission ahead? What if the closed door wasn't rejection, but redirection? That's how a strong mind thinks. It reframes pain into purpose. practical step. The next time you're hurting, instead of asking, "How do I get rid of this pain?" ask, "What is this pain teaching me? How can I use this?" Then channel it. Write the book. Start the business. Mentor someone walking the same path. Train harder. Build deeper. Let your pain sharpen you instead of silence you. Because here's the truth: the world doesn't respect the victim. It respects the victor. And victors are not people who avoided pain. They're people who walked through it and came out stronger. Look at your scars differently. Stop hiding them. Scars are proof that you survived. Scars are proof that you refused to quit. Scars are your credentials, your authority to lead others. The world doesn't need perfect people. It needs scarred people who turn their wounds into wisdom. So let me challenge you. What pain have you been running from? What story have you been telling yourself that starts with defeat instead of purpose? It's time to flip the script. It's time to turn pain into purpose, wounds into weapons, trials into testimony. Because in the end, your pain will do one of two things: break you or build you. The choice is yours. And when you choose to build, something powerful happens. You stop fearing the next storm. You stop being intimidated by hardship. You stop dreading rejection. Because you know, deep down, that even if life breaks you again, you will rise again. Be a stronger, sharper, and more unstoppable than before. That is the alchemy of a strong mind. And that is how pain becomes power. The strongest minds don't chase quick wins. They don't need overnight applause. They don't panic when results take time. Why? Because they understand the truth. Success is not a sprint. It's a marathon. And only those who play the long game ever build something that lasts. Most people quit too soon. They plant seeds today and expect fruit tomorrow. When it doesn't come, they get discouraged. Call it failure and walk away. But a strong mind knows better. A strong mind understands that empires are not built in days. They are built brick by brick, decision by decision, sacrifice by sacrifice. Think about a tree. You don't see growth for months underground. The roots are spreading, strengthening, preparing to carry the weight of what's coming. Then one day, it breaks the surface, and eventually, it becomes unmovable. Your mind works the same way. The long game is about planting roots before you see results. Here's the hard truth. Playing the long game requires patience. Most people don't have. We live in a world addicted to instant gratification, fast likes, fast money, fast recognition. But real power doesn't come fast. It comes slow. It comes from showing up day after day, long after the excitement fades. It comes from doing the work when no one is clapping, from staying focused when no one is watching. Take Thomas Edison. Thousands of failed experiments before the light bulb worked, or J.K. Rowling, rejected by multiple publishers before Harry Potter became a global phenomenon, or Elon Musk, who faced years of doubt and near bankruptcy before building some of the most disruptive companies in the world. None of them would exist in history if they didn't play the long game. And let's be clear, the long game doesn't mean moving slowly. It means moving steadily. It means combining urgency with patience. You act with speed today, but you think in decades. You don't let small setbacks distract you from the big mission. Ask yourself this: Are your actions today aligned with the life you want 10 years from now? Or are you trading your future for temporary comfort because every choice you make is a vote for your legacy or for your limitations? A strong mind doesn't just ask, "What feels good now?" It asks, "What serves me in the long run?" That shift in perspective changes everything. Suddenly, rejection is no longer a reason to quit. It's just part of the journey. Failure isn't a dead end, it's feedback. The grind isn't meaningless, it's preparation. And here's the beauty of the long game. When you commit to it, pressure loses its grip on you. You don't panic if results don't come fast. You don't collapse if others don't notice right away. You know you're building something bigger than the moment. That calm confidence terrifies people who only know how to live for instant results. Picture this. Two builders start laying bricks. One is obsessed with speed, rushing to finish quickly, cutting corners. The other takes time, laying each brick carefully, building a foundation that can withstand storms. The first house looks finished faster, but it collapses when the first storm hits. The second house takes longer, but it becomes a fortress. That's the difference between chasing quick wins and playing the long game. Practical steps start. Thinking in decades, not days. Where do you want to be 10 years from now? What identity do you want to embody? Then reverse engineer your habits to match that vision. If your long game is health, then your daily standard is clean fuel and consistent training. If your long game is wealth, then your daily standard is discipline with money and compounding investments. If your long game is legacy, then your daily standard is living with integrity and building systems that outlast you. Because here's the truth. Anyone can shine for a moment, but only those who play the long game shine for a lifetime. The weak mind is obsessed with now. The strong mind is anchored in forever. So stop asking, "How fast can I get there?" and start asking, "How long can I keep building?" Because the world doesn't reward the one who starts the fastest. It rewards the one who refuses to stop. And when you master the long game, you no longer just succeed, you become inevitable. So here we are, 10 chapters, one relentless journey. And if you've stayed with me until now, it's because something inside you refuses to stay the same. Something in you knows you were never meant to live small, to bend under pressure, to crumble at the first sign of resistance. You were designed to be unshakable, to be the calm in the storm, to be the kind of person whose presence alone commands respect, not because you shout louder, but because your silence carries weight, because your consistency speaks louder than any words. A strong mind isn't built in a single moment. It's built in every decision, every choice to rise when quitting was easier, every act of discipline when no one was watching, every time you embraced pain instead of running from it. That's how warriors are forged, not in comfort, but in fire. And if there's one truth I want you to take with you, it's this. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. You don't need their approval, their applause, their permission. The only thing you need is the courage to keep showing up, to keep building, to keep becoming the person you already know you're meant to be. Because once your mind is strong, truly strong, no storm can shake you. No critic can stop you. No failure can define you. You will rise again and again until your very existence terrifies mediocrity and inspires greatness. This is your time, not tomorrow, not someday, today, right now. If this message spoke to you, don't let it end here. Take action. Subscribe to the channel. Share this video. and commit yourself to building a mind so strong it becomes your greatest weapon. Because the world doesn't need more noise. It needs you focused, disciplined, uncheckable. Remember, you don't get what you wish for. You don't get what you dream about. You get what you demand from yourself. And when you demand greatness consistently, relentlessly, success has no choice but to follow. So go, build your strong mind, forge it in fire, protect it like a fortress, and let the world see what it looks like when someone refuses to be broken. This is your moment. Don't waste it.